the Boston bombing happens. The New York Post puts two people on the cover and says, these are the Boston bombers. They weren't. The Reddit community goes to work diligently, I think, examining all the social media and processing it in a group effort. And I just thought, to me, this is not really speculation as much as investigative journalism. This is the greatest thing ever, to get hundreds and hundreds of people working around the clock to try to process this information. What did you think when you saw the amount of attention? Because I think that was the most public moment for Reddit up until that point. What did you think of that phenomenon?
Well, this illustrated the gift and the curse of social media. And yes, the FBI asked people for help in identifying suspects. Oh, sorry. Yes, the FBI did ask people to help identifying suspects. The problem is, when you create an open communication platform, whether it's Reddit or Twitter, you allow anyone to try to help and participate. And very quickly, people can make mistakes that spiral out of control, that catch steam. The thing for me is, as long as humans are part of the equation, there are going to be errors, right? Just weeks after that, the Navy Yard shooting happened, and NBC and CBS both misidentified someone. And these are hardworking, very smart, very talented journalists. All this is to say, whether it was amazing journalists doing it or just random people with cell phones, mistakes are going to happen. And it is, the onus is on us as users to use these open platforms as responsibly as we can, to not blindly retweet, to not blindly, the New York Times Magazine did a very good breakdown of like tweet by tweet, upvote by upvote of what happened that day, and found it was actually a random Twitter account that first falsely identified that innocent young man on the police scanner. And it was just a total lie, total made up tweet that got picked up and started getting retweeted by legitimate journalists and started getting picked up. And in a lot of instances, these tools are used for amazing good. It crowdsources amazing, wonderful, great things. But it's ultimately people that are doing it. And likewise, it can be used improperly. So the unfortunate reality is there's not a total technological solution for any of this.
Is it a net benefit for society, though, that people are participating so much? Or do you think people should just be quiet and wait for the proper journalistic process to occur?
I think it is a net benefit for society. I hope that as journalism evolves, and we're seeing, I think cable news is probably having the hardest time with this. They used to have the monopoly on our 24/7 attention spans, right? The first 24/7 news, whether it was Desert Storm, 9/11, anything else, was the thing that we all keyed into. Now it's the internet. And so many of them are still trying so hard to be first that you get what happens during the Navy Yard shooting. You get what happens when two major news organizations misread the Obamacare Supreme Court ruling. Like, that was reading text on paper, and people were so frantic to be first. The internet is always going to be first. It's not always going to be right. And that's where journalism really needs to play the vital, vital role in our society of actually doing the journalism to sift the data from the noise.
And what do you think of journalism today? The biggest sites, the highest growth sites, things like BuzzFeed,
yes.
Which people in some ways group with Reddit because of the memes or just sort of the genre, but Gawker, Business Insider, Huffington Post. What do you think of those sites and how they operate? Yeah, honesty is good.
They all do. Oh, you're always going to get it real from me. Yeah. They all do an interesting job of curating. Now, I'll snarkily say they curate a lot of it from various subreddits, from other people's Twitter accounts, from the masses. But that's great. I'm happy more of them now attribute than they used to.
Well, Gawker, yeah. I mean, it seems like every third story on Gawker has hat tip Reddit.
Yes, they grudgingly credit the subreddit or whatever that sourced it. But it's the same way that's just sort of polite. If someone tweets out an interesting link, you'd cite it. The one that's most intriguing to me is actually Upworthy. And full disclosure, I am an investor. But they have grown, I think, one of the fastest growing media companies on the premise that people want to see and share positive, socially good news. And so they'll find a YouTube video about something that is sort of good for the world and come up with a great headline for it and send it out there. That's intriguing to me because I really I had yet to see evidence that something could do better than cat photos or dog photos or
Yeah.
whatever kind of photos you like. And that's really heartening for me. It actually shows that, look, there's real demand here for positive stuff, not just bleeds, it leads, but actually inspiring great news. And I think there's still such a long way to go. I was actually having a conversation with a very smart journalist about the future of a lot of these institutions, whether it's WashPo or New York Times. And one of the things that I really want to see them step up with more is to be that source of record on almost like, you need to know what's going on in Syria right now. Here it is. You don't go to Wikipedia for it. You go here. And I don't know if, I mean, various organizations have done this, but use that clout, use those resources, use those amazing journalists to create things that are the things that get tweeted, the things that get submitted to Reddit.
Yeah, but you're seeing, in addition to the listicles and all the craziness over BuzzFeed, they're starting to hire some real journalists to do some actual real journalism. So do you think this is a changing of the guard? Like, they were using the slideshows and the Reddit memes in order to get the traffic, to get the money, to get the real journalists?
Here, yes. And what's so brilliant about it, and one of the great reasons to be an upstart rather than an incumbent, is buzzworthy. Any new brand can get into the game with the cat photos and the listicles, and then by doing good journalism, be perceived of as being, you know, it takes a Pulitzer and all of a sudden people are going to be like, okay, that's legit. However, you could never imagine an incumbent like the Washington Post saying, all right, guys, top 10 favorite cat photos of the week, because they come from a place of such reputation and such status that, like, I couldn't imagine even with Bezos in there actually having that discussion and having it get nowhere. But I think there need to be more and more institutions of new media, of new journalism, that are figuring this out, because it's still far from being a solved problem, certainly on the business model side, and it's so important.